What controls the climate of the planet? A dominant feature of our planet is the water vapor in the atmosphere that creates the greenhouse effect. But the water vapor in the atmosphere remains more or less constant because an increase in temperature will increase the amount of water vapor temporarily to some extent. The clouds will increase, which block sunlight, which cool the planet. So it's a self-regulating climate system. Of course, the Earth regulates itself. Human beings don't regulate diddly. If the sun were to brighten, clouds would increase and reflect the excess sunlight away, and thus the heat would not radiate from the surface of the Earth because the surface would be in the shadow of these clouds. There is this theory called the Milankovitch cycle. In other words, if we change from a circular orbit to an elliptical orbit, that means for a few months there might be slightly less solar radiation striking the Earth. And if this happens, if this goes on for a long period of time, the Earth might tend to slowly cool. But I don't think this is a profound influence on the climate that would cause an ice age or cause a glacial episode, in contrast to an interglacial episode in which we are now. We are now in an interglacial where the ice caps have been melting for thousands of years. 20,000 and 30,000, 50,000 years ago, we were in a deep ice age where the ice on both poles built up. I don't believe this was caused by the Milankovitch cycle. Maybe it was, but my theory is that the sun and all the planets move through space in a repetitive cycle through space, as though we're orbiting another star, and we're part of a group of stars, and this cluster of stars is the result of a nebula that exploded millions of years ago, hundreds of millions of years ago, even billions of years ago, say 5 billion years ago. From the debris of this huge exploded star, several smaller secondary stars formed, including our sun and the planets that revolve around the sun. They are in perfect or near perfect orbit because any planetoid astral body that failed to assume a perfect orbit was ejected or was smashed into smithereens. And perhaps that's the origin of the asteroid belt. So we have like a machine, an orderly machine that resulted from original chaos, which is contrary to the notion that randomness and chaos produces more randomness and chaos. I suspect that order, pattern, can result from what was chaos. Things don't always become increasingly chaotic. They might tend to become more orderly. If my theory is correct, if we are a part of a larger star system, and this star system moves independently of the other stars, and our sun tends to move in a repetitive cycle that perhaps brings us to the same point again and again in relation to this larger star system, approximately every 110,000 years. If we were to pass through clouds of interstellar dust and gas in a repetitive, repeating cycle again and again, if we passed through a cloud of dust and out of this cloud of dust and back in again and back out again every 110,000 years as we orbited another star which is a part of the star system which formed from this nebula, the result of an exploded star, a nova, supernova, billions of years ago. We have a stellar neighborhood, according to my theory. We're not one single star, the sun, independent of other stars. We are part of a group. We live in a neighborhood. And as we move through this neighborhood, we pass through clouds of interstellar gas. NASA admits that we are now in what they call the local cloud, for example, the local cloud. And nearby is what NASA calls the G cloud. There are different clouds of interstellar gas out in space in between us and the nearest star, Alpha Centauri, A, B, C. I believe it's 3 stars. Alpha Centauri is 3 stars. 3 stars. And this neighborhood of ours, of course, revolves around the spiral arms of the galaxy, around the core of the galaxy. But my theory is the presence of this gas, when we're immersed in this gas, solar radiation, cosmic radiation, subatomic particles that are called galactic cosmic rays. They're actually particles, but their original name was galactic cosmic rays, GCR. These particles would be moderated by this gas. The gas would diffuse these particles through collisions, cause these GCRs to diffuse and scatter and become less dense. When we pass out of the cloud of moderating gas and dust, the GCRs will become more intense. When more of these GCRs, galactic cosmic rays, strike the Earth's surface, it may affect the amount of clouds in our atmosphere. I originally said that water vapor remains constant because if it increases slightly, the clouds increase and reflect heat away, keeping the planet relatively the same within a tight range of temperature. We are self-regulating, but the presence of this additional cosmic radiation would interfere with this self-regulating system, causing more clouds, more heat from the sun, or I should say more light from the sun is reflected away by these clouds, and the Earth cools. And if we stayed in this position in space, being bombarded year after year for thousands of years by an increased level of cosmic radiation, clouds would remain in an increased state for thousands of years. The planet would inevitably cool. This is my theory of extreme climate change. It's our movement through space, our position relative to clouds of cosmic dust and gas that causes the extreme climate changes. That's one of the factors. I'm convinced that the climate machine, the climate system of the Earth is complex and not well understood. But this that I pointed out, movement through clouds of interstellar gas, is something that I've not heard anybody talk about. I wanted to call it to your attention. I believe, I theorize, I think that the Earth has a built-in self-regulatory system in its atmosphere and its oceans, water. The fact that this is the water planet results in a near constant temperature year-round, year after year. The temperature stays nearly constant because of the water vapor. Suppose our orbit should change and we are slightly further away from the sun for a few months out of every year, year after year. We're slightly further from the sun for a few months out of the year, and this goes on for a long time. I don't think it would, because supposedly this elliptical pattern is caused by the gravitational pull of other planets, which don't stay in the same place for very long. They don't stay there for 100,000 years, boys and girls. They stay there for a year or less. Milankovitch cycle, learn to think for yourself. But even if the Milankovitch cycle should last for a long time and cause the Earth to receive slightly less solar radiation for a number of years, what would the effect be? Well, according to my theory of the Earth's self-regulating system, it would have very little effect, because if there's less sunshine, temperature drops, water vapor drops, clouds decrease, and lo and behold, the sun shines through. Should anything cause the clouds to increase, more sunlight would be radiated back, reflected back, and the Earth would be cooler because of the clouds. All of the water in the ocean and all the water vapor in the air and the wonderful phenomenon of clouds create a self-regulating, like an iris of the eye. If more light is to shine in your eye, your iris will close. If I take the light away from your eye, your iris will enlarge, so that the best amount of light strikes the retina of your eye. An iris adjusts to the amount of light. Our atmosphere automatically adjusts to the amount of light, and the result is we stay the same. We stay the same. We stay the same. The only thing that could change our climate, start thinking for yourself, okay, is that something should reset this self-regulating system, like the thermostat in your home. If you have indoor, if you have central heating and air, all you got to do is set the thermostat to like 70 degrees in your house. If it would stay 70 degrees if your thermostat and your heating and air conditioning system was working properly. Your house would stay 70 degrees, even if it turned cold outside, even if it turned hot and sunny outside. Your house would stay approximately 70 degrees because of the thermostat. It regulates the climate of your house. Start thinking for yourself. The only thing that would make your house cooler, what? Is what? How could you make your house cooler? Change the setting of the thermostat. And another thing I should point out and make clear is that in my theory, whether I'm right or wrong, but my theory is that stars move. You got to understand that stars are not fixed in a stationary position. They're always moving. but they're so far away it's almost impossible to detect. Stars do not remain fixed in one spot. Stars are in motion. Now, you don't remember what the stars looked like 30,000 years ago, but I've got a snapshot here. And I took a snapshot 20,000 years ago, and then 10,000 years ago. So you can see that the stars are moving. And if you could see the pattern that they created over a long period of time, it might look like this. And they all go around and around because they're attracted to the center of gravity. The same as every star is attracted to the galactic core. And that was a supernova, which emits subatomic particles which bombard the Earth. This bombardment would be somewhat moderated if they had to pass through a cloud of interstellar medium before striking the Earth.